It's time for Mike Geary Show. He's ripping off Cullinane. He wants to find some fans to talk to, 'cause he's lonely on Saturdays. Mike was told to come up with something, and I guess this is what he did. We should give him some points for trying. Kirk wants to know what the point of this is. Just a warning for all you guys, you'll never get this hour back in your life. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you. This is Mike and the Minifans. This is Mike and the Minifans. Mike is talking with you.
All right, I'm going to start the show with a brand new segment called Minifan of the Week. And that honor will go to whoever has given the most back to their community, who's ever contributed to society the most. I'm kidding. It'll go to whoever's helped me that week. And this week, it's going to be the first ever winner of Minifan of the Week will be TJ Hubbard, because he hooked it up for Maine next week. Everyone's going to Saco Saturday and Sunday, but if you're going to be there Friday night, July 24th, if you're getting there a night early, making a weekend of it, Mike and the Minifans will be live at... I almost feel bad giving away this guy's address. He's a fan of the show, so I guess he knows what he's in for. Credit to Jason. Jason is basically giving us his house. He's got a pretty huge yard, at least from the pictures TJ has shown me. It's probably fake. Maybe we'll end up in this guy's basement. But 2 Dragonfly Drive in Scarborough, Maine. It's just under 6 miles from the drive-in theater, so it shouldn't be too far from wherever you're staying up there. But if you want to come do Mike and the Minifans with me, or just come watch and hang out, evidently Jason, great Minifan, is going to provide us food. It's I will not be drinking, but if you want to partake a little bit, bring your own booze. But Jason and his lovely wife are going to have some food prepared for us. Unbelievable hospitality. I say that now, but likely we'll end up in this guy's basement, or it's just some front that TJ Hubbard is presenting me to get us into a slaughterhouse of some kind. I didn't even really look up. TJ Hubbard sent me a map, but I didn't actually look up. This address could lead nowhere or to a very scary place, but I'm inclined to trust the likes of TJ Hubbard. He seemed very excited about it. How can you not trust a guy who, when he calls you, is playing, an adult man who is playing with porn baseball cards with a man by the name of Rich Mandarin? That's a guy I would put my trust in, and it's a guy I would follow to some place called Scarborough, Maine. So if you want to join me Friday night, make sure you do that. You can be on Mike and the Minifans. You can just come watch and hang out with some lovely people. So make sure you do that the Friday before. If you weren't planning on come up, do it. All right. Now, down to the real business. This could be an episode that lasts 5 minutes, or maybe we could mend this fence and reminisce till the sun comes up. Who knows? But there's a rivalry brewing in the Minifan world, if you're not aware of it. It is between Mentors and DEC. Bring the boys on. You heard Mentors rant about this. We played the clips on the Kirk Minahan show this week. DEC did what I thought was a nice job summarizing everything on the Minifan show. I'm sure Mentors may disagree with that. I don't know. But Mentors, correct me if I'm wrong here. My understanding is that this all pretty much stems from the fact that DEC put your business out there. The play where you do podcasting and everything, he kind of put that out there, let the Minifans know where it is, and that's why you're pissed off. Or am I incorrect?
No, that's right. Hello, viewers. Coming to you live from the Manners Live studio in Sydney. That's exactly right. But it's not just the fact that he shared my business. It's the fact that he's such a disingenuous, slimy fuck that he pretends like, oh, I'm just joking around. But we all know that when you go outside the Minifan world and bring in personal shit, that can add complications. He knew what he was doing. I guess Yeah, maybe I overreacted a little bit, but what really stuck with me, Mike, is the double standard. That stupid double standard where he pretends, oh, I'm just mucking around. But if I were to, share something from outside the Minifan world for him, he wouldn't see it as a joke, which is plainly clear. He sees it's fucking blackmail because he's a big liar. So, that's where we are, Mike. Yeah.
Was that not known though? Was that not known? Because we know you do the cricket podcast and everything. So was that not known where you do?
So I assumed it was.
Shut up, you idiot. Being
so this is where we're going. You're going to use insults and raising your voice to utilize your argument.
Okay.
Because you don't have a basis of fact or the facts on your side. But what you like to do typically is you like to just raise your voice, use expletives. What is the C word coming out? If anybody on the chat has a bet for when he uses the C word for the first time, that's a good thing to bet on. It'll happen.
Fucking cunt.
There you go.
So whether my business stuff is known, that's because I'm an honest guy. But if you go in and you start sharing it in your social media and making it public for everybody and just throwing it around, that's different to if someone asks me what I do, being honest with them and saying what I do. So that's just a load of crap. You know it. I know it. It's the same thing as this podcast you do on the side. That's a public thing. You posted it on your feed by mistake once, so it's not some big secret. I'm sure there's hundreds of people that know about this other podcast. If I were to share that in my Twitter, I could just say what you're doing, just helping you out, trying to get you more listeners. I mean, there's no blackmail there. What am I getting in return? Nothing. So you're just a fucking bullshit artist. And I will say though, DEC, and, it took Latino Kirk to make me see this, that I can't sort of accept that. I can't play all innocent. I mean, I went on the other night and said some very horrible things about you, none of which I would take back. But I can't get all up in arms when the next day you put out a podcast railing me. So I can't sort of cry the victim, the fact that you lied your ass off. But
how did I lie? Could you give me some examples of where I lied?
I could give you a whole list of them, but I think it would be terrible viewing for me going through.
Well, give a few.
Well,
the big ones.
Okay, the big one is the fact that I was trying to blackmail DEC. I mean,
so there we have intent, because it seems as though you have a history of
messaging each other for a year, and I was annoyed about this. I wanted to continue the discussion to make my point in a private setting. I never threatened you. I never said, I'm going to fucking release this. You just lied in your podcast, said things I didn't say. I was just trying to make a point that you had to admit you were being a fucking asshole sharing my business stuff. And
what do you think? Hold on one second, Mentors. What do you think the blackmail? Mentors, hold on one second.
You hate me, so fuck you.
He's not going to stop. That's his point. He's going to run the clock out. What do you think the
blackmail was from Mentors? How do you see him blackmailing you?
He goes and brings in a private message with the podcast I do with my son and said, I guess it would be fair if I put this out, right?
I said, is this funny to put out? Because you think it's funny to share my business stuff. I was trying to have a private discussion with you. I never said, I'm going to suck and...
Can you understand where I would find that to be over the line? How would you, if you were getting it out of nowhere, not see that is something that would get my ire? How would you not see that as a father yourself?
What the fuck? I didn't even mention your son in it. I was just making a point.
But you know what's in that podcast.
Never listened to it, to be honest. I don't know what's in it. So the fact is
very convenient. This sounds a lot like the stuff you did with Steve Robinson, where you had all of this quote unquote dirt. And then it's, no, Steve, I really wasn't trying to hurt you. I was letting you know. I was doing you a favor.
Anyway.
So for anyone that doesn't know, DEC does this podcast on the side that it was never meant for anyone to know about. It's just with your son, right, DEC? And the only reason you're really on it is because you need someone to help him out. Your son's a younger, I don't want to give his age or anything, but younger kid, not going to run a podcast by himself. So you're just helping him out with that. And it was never meant to get a big audience or anything. It was meant for him to do kind of for fun. Right. I would say this. If you are going to put your voice on it, and if you accidentally tweet it out from your feed, that is, I can't say it's fair game because I think it's shitty of anyone to go after, but you do know the risk of putting it out there, right?
It's not the point that I don't want people to hear it. I'm not hiding it. It's the point of how he was going about it.
So
I saw the way he was doing it as a threat.
That's the double standard right there, right fucking there. You did it to my business and you fucking wouldn't admit it. And
Can we back up a second, Mike? Because this is his tap that he just gets angry and starts yelling to run out the clock.
Why am I running out the clock? This is a limitless show. We can scream at each other for as long as Mike wants us to.
As long as we want.
All right.
That is true.
So here's what happened. His 21-year-old intern, as he told me, tweeted something out from his vast podcast network. It's this close to being the Spotify network, and it was, hey, get your resumes in here. We're looking for new hosts. And I tweeted out, hey, Minifans, here's your opportunity.
Just a coincidence.
That's it.
Throw that out there. Just a coincidence. You throw that out there.
Which I thought everybody already knew. You reached out privately and said, I didn't want this out there. I keep things separately. I don't want my enemies to hear. And when you said that, I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. Shouldn't have done that. I thought everybody knew. I was trying to be funny. I won't say word one about it again.
So why is that so bad, Mentors? Even if he was doing it to kind of be a dick, why is that so bad that he tweeted that?
Oh, I just don't like the fact that he played all dumb and innocent after. I mean, he knows he's
How is that dumb and innocent? It's my honest reaction.
You're trying to stir shit for me. You're trying to bring my personal business in and hoping some Minifans will just see that little nugget and run with it.
How many Minifans submitted their resumes? I'm sure you were overwhelmed with.
I get them on the Twitter page now replying to my business post. So, I mean, what are you laughing about?
It's funny.
My fucking business.
But
this is a very serious podcast, by the way.
If Minifans are submitting resumes, that's not going to kill your business, though. I'm just not sure why it bothers you so much.
I've had one business in the past, my cafe, where Minifans, there's like 21-star reviews. And I had to talk to my business partner.
I'm not the one who viciously fired all those people and put them on the government dole.
You will not take responsibility for that load of shit.
So here, can we stop for a second? Time out. So the whole issue here is I tweeted out something that I thought was public knowledge. I guess it wasn't. He didn't want it out there. This is a solved issue at this point. We're done. No more talk. Then
it wasn't for me because you played this whole dumb innocent act.
How is it dumb innocent when I'm doing exactly what I'm explaining?
I was just joking with you. You were being fucking very conniving in your timing of that release of that tweet, and it just gave fucking Steve Robinson.
What was the timing I was looking to do?
Straight at the end of the Minifan mash. So it would look like
this is as crazy as your conspiracy theory that Howard Stern got Kirk kicked off of Sirius. Did you ever think that I just happened to see it on my timeline and immediately retweeted that was the timing?
Yeah, because you've never retweeted anything from my business before, so you just decided then.
Well, you've never asked to have an open casting call for people for your empire.
I'm sure I have.
Look, I think Medium Poppy would be great doing a cricket podcast. Maybe we could have LK do rugby. I think you could look at this as a benefit to you.
Yes, DC. Yeah.
So, anyways, we have that conversation. I legitimately apologized. He didn't want it out there. I didn't know. And I said, I'm sorry. Immediately. So the issue's done. Then Steve piles on when you guys come back from vacation, and Kirk piles on and said, that's it. He's off, this and that, doing the Kirk and Steve stuff that they do. Now, I have no idea why Steve might have an axe to grind with you. It's not like you've ever done anything to him. And he flips out in a private chat, goes nuclear. This is after he went nuclear on Latino Kirk. And said, this is all this is a scam. This is a conspiracy against me, my enemies. People like Fez are going to come after me. And he's just going on and on and on. I want you to message Kirk immediately and fall on your sword. Like, if I were to message Kirk and say, hey, Kirk, you got to lay off of Mentors. How do you think that would go the next day? Just the thought.
Yeah, Mentors, it seems so. At least in DEC's version of events, it seems very important to you that DEC messaged Kirk in some way. Why would that, in Kirk's mind, why would he want to hear from DEC?
Oh, I ended up doing myself. I just did my thing is often stuff that gets given to Kirk might lose a little in translation. So it might have seemed like I was, say, tweeting from my Kirk Club account, send me your resume, when in fact it was a totally separate thing that was never meant to be shared in the Minifan world, and DEC brought it in to make me look bad.
But so don't you kind of think, Menners, if you're gonna do Menners Live and this very successful program, the Mike Francesa of the YouTube channel, isn't it kind of a given that shit's
I think he's more
get
the
out
Jonah
there
Falcon, but that's me.
I enjoyed that clip, by the way, D. I really think I like when DEC plays clips that are really only for like me and him. No one else would give a fuck about that. But isn't it kind of a given, Menners, that shit's going to get out there in some way, shape, or form? And if you get that mad about it, as mad as you're getting, or as mad as you got on your show, that's only going to incentivize people to do it more.
Correct. Oh, I agree. And I guess what really stung me was, DC and I have done a few shows together. I thought we had a pretty good relationship. So I would expect better from someone like that. But I guess, everything people say that he's a snake is he sits there and acts all
Who's everyone?
Responsibility. I get messages every day about you.
From who? Mike. Mike, would you consider me a snake?
No, I don't. I think DEC is a pretty honest guy, as far as I know.
Steve used the C word with me one time, but I don't think he called me a snake.
He's not an honest.
DEC is very against the C word. I never knew that.
That's kind of a dirty word.
I didn't know you were so sensitive, DEC. So I was surprised. You said the MHB thing didn't bother you, but the wishing pancreatic cancer on you got to you. I'm surprised by that.
No, I don't think I said it got to me. I just thought it was
over the line. You said
it was over a line.
Yeah, I don't know that it is really, but Menners, I didn't think there was certainly some Kirk influence in your rant, but I didn't think you were directly ripping him off. Was there? Did you know when you were doing it that there was some Kirk influence there?
My whole show is a tribute to Kirk. It is a fucking C grade version of what he does, maybe D grade. So. I'm not going to try and say, well, of course I was ripping off Kirk. He sets the standards in this world. So I usually follow them poorly, but I'll do my best. And look, I cannot sit here and complain about what DC did in his podcast. I said some horrible things. I went really low. I went as personal as I could get. So I can't sit here and go, DC lied in his reply because, if I hadn't said those horrible things, I wouldn't have got it. So I can't sort of play.
I'm still trying to figure out what you're saying I lied about. We've had multiple conversations, multiple shows where you are constantly calling me a liar.
A whole fucking list of them. The blackmailing one, the stuff about Fez and Zonka was bullshit.
That's not bullshit at all. Fez lives in your head rent free, and you're terrified of Zonka for some reason.
I think I realize this is Mike and the Minifans, so anyone watching this is already pretty inside. But I think even for them, we're gonna have to explain who. I think everyone knows who Zonka is at this point. I know who Fez is, kind of, but what is his role in all of this?
Okay, I'll just give you my thing with Fez. When the Steve suspension happened, he was the first one I saw to go off of my Kirk Club account and find my personal Instagrams and stuff and start pulling photos from my personal pages. So he's a scumbag and a fucking load of shit. So that's why I don't like him. And I use him as an example to DC of what people can do and why I don't want them to going to my business and using stuff there. So look, there's a whole fucking list of lies.
What is the lie though? Where does the lie come in involving Fez and Zonker?
It's like Fez is in my head and like I'm fucking petrified of Fez
but that wouldn't be a lie. That would be just him shit talking you, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
I don't know if you're afraid of him, but you're thinking about him at all times.
Whatever. I'm not gonna. You can mischaracterize our conversations as much as you want. And then you gave me this bullshit apology about the thing. You never deleted the tweet with my business on it. A load of crap. And then the stuff with
you deleted the tweet, so I didn't have to.
Well, it was still
the content's gone.
So I'm willing to agree that DEC is a kind of a Weasley douchebag. I think we can all get behind that. But I still haven't gotten to where he's a liar. I haven't found that yet.
Why am I Weasley?
I was trying to blackmail him about his son's podcast.
It felt like you were going under the line by involving my son.
I'll defend Menners here. I don't think that's blackmail. I think it's him pointing out an example of wouldn't this be shitty if I tweeted this out.
But he's
trying to
also
say the
using
same as his
something that
business.
involves my 12-year-old, which in the moment infuriated me.
But blackmail
Can you
is more.
understand that?
Blackmail is,
Don't
hey,
fucking
delete
worry
that
about
tweet.
your son. Don't release it on iTunes. Don't release it on Spotify, where everyone can fucking find it. Send an MP3 to your friends and family. It's really easy to do. Don't play this whole innocent act.
It's okay if people want to listen to it. I just don't think it's for this audience, nor would they find it interesting.
So
But
what's
it
the point
appeared
then?
in my mind that you're bringing up something I do with my son, that you're going after him. The parent in me in the moment doesn't like that, and I got very protective.
Well,
and you crossed the line with me.
No, I didn't cross any lines. I just said to you, would it
In
be
your
fun-
opinion, you didn't cross any line. In my opinion, you did.
Well, we can go around in circles, but you're a fucking liar.
All right, so we're 0 for 2 on lies here, though, Mentors. I'm still actually. I'll say the blackmail's an exaggeration.
Blackmailing's DEC, right? Like there was no threats or anything. I just wanted to have a conversation with him in our private DMs, and we have been DMing for a year, so it's not like I just sent him some message out of the blue.
Are you also looking to have a private conversation on professional websites that you're also sending me invites to? Why are you sending me invites to other sites when you're so angry at me and hate me and want me to die?
LinkedIn? Yeah, because I thought it would be funny to be your friend on LinkedIn. That's all. I mean,
That would
It
be
all
funny.
goes back to it's all funny and a joke.
Marco funny. Yeah, that would be very funny.
I don't know how that's a threat either. I mean, again,
It's not a threat. It's just curious. Your behavior is really inconsistent.
well, I knew that would annoy you, me sending you a friend request on LinkedIn. So that's why I did it. And yeah, like you set up this charity that gives your full name anyway. So it's all
I
out.
didn't have another way of doing it. And thank you, by the way, for saying those things, because in 48 hours, we had our goal of $2,000. This was something I was going to do anyways, but you gave me the opportunity to move it up, and we raised a lot of money for PanCan. And
I'm
just
glad.
because we reached our
glad.
goal doesn't mean you
Glad.
can't go out there and
Hopefully
donate
it'll
some
work
more
for you.
money.
Hopefully,
And I
it'll work
wanted
for
to
you.
make sure I didn't die of pancreatic cancer if I got it. If we raise enough money, maybe it becomes treatable and more chronic.
So
I'm
DEC
reading-
did a
I'm
good
reading
job.
fucking
Hold on
cancer.
1 second, Mentors. DEC did a good job raising some money for pancreatic cancer. And my understanding is you are pro pancreatic cancer, Mentors. Is that correct?
Well, I'm pro any cancer that fucking gets in DEC. That's all.
Okay.
Well, the good news is pancreatic cancer metastasizes, so it could end up in the lungs and the brain. It's like two birds, one stone for you. So you picked the right one.
So I think after this conversation, I think we've gotten to a place where we can all agree. DEC, of course, is yes, a weaselly, underhanded, kind of smug,
But not a pedophile.
perverted.
And if it is a
douchebag.
pedophile, heterosexual.
Sure, a heterosexual pedophile.
Do you have
but not-
any
but
idea,
not
like a
liar.
young vagina, the tightness there? It would be like that first time is nothing like you've ever experienced.
I hope I didn't talk over that first part. Steve, I apologize if we didn't get that clean. But can we agree to that? That he's not really a liar. He hasn't lied about anything here, Mentors.
DEC, he's lied the whole time.
Perverted,
I'm
creepy.
blackmailing, fucking trying to, use his son as some leverage to get something out of him. It's just a load of crap.
What he's saying is I'm playing a character. He's actually had sex with underage girls. And what he's
Jesus
saying
Christ.
is that it's not as tight as you would think. That is what he's saying I'm a liar about. Shame on you. What are the consent laws in that penal colony that you live in?
Penal colony.
Penal.
Yes, it is.
Penal.
It is a very funny word.
Yeah, so I like it. Well, we can go around in circles, Mike.
Yeah, but that's about it, huh? Is that where we're going to leave off? It seems like you guys.
I will take my responsibility because I'm a man. I was a dickhead at times in this. I went as fucking low as I could because DEC is a piece of shit. And, it felt good saying all those really horrible things to him. And I mean every one of them. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say? His bullshit AA apology that he gave me about my business triggered me. He doesn't take responsibility for his own actions. Unlike him, I will take responsibility, but he won't. So that's good. Good.
I think that's pretty honorable. DEC, do you take any responsibility in this?
I already did at the first time when I tweeted out his corporate email there. We had a conversation. I was genuinely sorry. We had solved the issue then and there.
No. You just played out. You're making some little joke about my business. Well,
The only reason I feel like this argument's pretty much done, but the only reason I want to keep
The
going
argument was done.
The only reason I want to keep going is because every time DEC talks, Mentors will yell over him, but you can't hear him, and that's what I really love about it. I'd like to keep that going, but we're running out of steam on this.
Everything about him is small: stature, voice, size of business, audience.
Do you guys want to get into some other topics? Do you think you can be civil with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the.
Yeah, I would prefer to be civil because it.
Point.
What?
I don't know. I just have a point that I just wanted to make.
Go ahead.
Nobody cares.
Mentors. Well, DEC, it's kind of in your defense. Wouldn't you say wouldn't you say that your argument for like why DEC don't put the podcast out there if you don't want anyone finding it can't that argument be the same argument made towards your business and your
That's
podcast?
exactly the point I was trying to make.
Boom. Roasted.
That was exactly the point I was trying to make to him, Justin, that he was being a dickhead. He knew it. So I agree.
It was not being a dickhead.
Dickhead.
You know, Justin popping in here reminds me. You were also mad at Justin or me or something.
Justin was being a snake, and then he put me on here, say, "Hey, I just want to have you on the show." Look at the little shit-eating grin he's holding back. I just want to have you on the show, and then his intent was to sandbag me. But Mentors was stupid enough to tweet something out, and then he went to you, and he told me, he goes, "Well, Mike just thought it would be a great idea to have both of you on," and then I hear you on the show saying, "Well, this was all Justin's doing."
No. I told Justin.
Justin's being a little bit of a snake, but that's fine. He's trying to do good content. How can I stay
Justin
mad
is
at
being
him?
a snake. I said, ask Mentors to come on, and if Mentors will do it, have DEC on as well. So I don't think
he was a little
Justin's
slippery the way he did it, but I can't blame him. He's trying to help you out. And he's trying to do a good show. I would have done the same thing. True or false? What?
Justin.
True. Yeah. True or false? What? I mean,
that you were being a snake. I didn't think you were.
Oh no! I mean, I'm a snake.
You were being a snake with that Cheers audio, although I respect it. I don't know if I can ever trust you again.
Yeah, once I heard the Cheers audio, I couldn't stay mad at him. I'm like, he's trying to do what's best for
Brilliantly
content.
done. I didn't think you had it in you, Justin. It never crossed my mind that you would have done that. So I respect you and hate you at the same time.
Yeah, he's going to slither through those gates of Saco, just right behind Steve from Providence, who is the slithering of the slithers.
It never occurred to me. I think of Justin as an honest boy. I thought he would have told me if he was going to do something like that, but now I know. I know to be on my toes. But good job, great week for Justin all around. Even some things you haven't, some surprises in store that Justin has done a very good job on. So something that was a big storyline all week that I think you guys will have takes on is, I guess, should we start with the EEI stuff in general or the Jerry stuff specifically? Where would you prefer to start, DEC?
Let's start with the EEI stuff because I just went through and signed up for their Twitch account. I was subscriber number 43, and I'm looking forward to being really high up in that number. EEI always makes the stupidest decisions ever. I mean, what the hell was Curtis thinking going down that path? And their reaction to that was ridiculous. I mean, the fact that Greg Hill had to turn around and drive to Nantucket to get away from you four.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I guess he's out on Monday. I think they said that on Friday's show. But it'll be interesting to see if they keep him out for 2 weeks or what they're going to have to do to explain this Friday thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense that it would be to avoid the likes of me and Justin and John Featherston, but I wouldn't put it past DEI at all. But the thing with Curtis specifically, I don't think he was thinking. I mean, the obvious joke is that he's drinking again, but I think he was just in some sort of a zone where he had his big boy pants on and thought, I'm going to take a shot at the king here, and totally forgot what Kirk Minahan is capable of. And the idea that he wouldn't just take that and say, oh, it's wacky Curtis being the swinging dick on the show. Mentors, were you surprised that Curtis did something like that?
Yeah, I was very surprised because he knows that he's going to get it back 10 times what he deals out. Right. So it was just a huge mistake. But I don't know. Do you think Curtis really sort of thought about it, or do you think he just went off the hip and went?
He can't. He's not capable of thinking ahead of time. He's impulse.
No, it was I mean, I would equate it to me shouting into a microphone, "Fucking fire me, you pussy!" to a certain someone at Barstool. And then after the show, I was like, that's not really me. That's not what I would do. That doesn't seem like Curtis to go. Not just Kirk, to even go after Michael Felger in that way or whoever, Scott Zolak. It doesn't seem like Curtis to be the swinging dick, confident guy that says, hey, you used to be the king and now you're fucking irrelevant. Go back to your hole. Like, that doesn't seem like Curtis at all. That's the only thing that really makes me wonder, is it a sobriety issue? Which I kind of hope it's not, but also I hope it's not
because he's going to be dead soon if he is.
I say I hope it's not, but I don't really care. Like, the guy was kind of a dick to me. I don't know him at all. So if he dies, then do I really care? But yeah, I guess I hope it's not. That's what I'll say. To look like a nice man.
DC, do you ever feel that sometimes, like, you know, considering, you know, you're quite publicly, you know, clean now, do you ever feel guilty, like when you'll go do a whole podcast sort of revisiting Curtis's drunk days?
I did. At the end of the show, I actually felt a little guilty because I felt that was rough on him. But we're also in this world, and he opened up his mouth, and this is content. I didn't go in there and say, you know, look at this piece of shit alcoholic, I hope he dies. It was, let's revisit Curtis being an asshole and irrelevant and saying stupid things, to juxtapose with Kirk is saying the stupidest things.
I think it's toughest because some people treat it like the real world. Like, if everyone was as smart as Kirk and just treated it like radio or like podcasting or like entertainment, like Kirk, I think Kirk just sees the value in doing that. Would he do that in his personal life? Like, if he was just sitting on his couch and he overheard that Curtis insulted him to a group of buddies? I don't know. Maybe Kirk would. I have no idea. But Kirk sees the entertainment value in it. And it's so clear that the Greg Hill show doesn't see the entertainment value in any of it. If they engaged in this battle, if they talked about the fact that some blind idiot and his politician buddy were standing outside getting the cops called on them, they would do the best ratings they've done, not all year. Like, they would do the best ratings Greg Hill's done in his 30 years of radio. If they engaged with the Minifans and talked shit back, it's amazing the lack of instinct in any way that they have to call themselves a number one radio show.
If the Hill Minifans did the same thing and they came down to the podcast studio, Kirk would probably send you out with a microphone and say, go talk to them, see what they want.
Kirk would go out himself, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing, is that's content. No matter what, even if they look like the assholes or whatever, it's going to be more interesting to their audience, and it's the only thing that will bring in many more listeners than Cam Newton talk for the 12th straight day. Or is baseball going to come back? Is Erod going to be ready for the beginning of the season? It's amazing that they don't see the value in that. Or maybe they do see the value, but it's just more important to them to keep the likes of Bob Murchison away.
Now, they have to protect the image. They're just terrified. Look at their decision making. They went on Twitch, a video product, when they already own their own video product. Right. They just have backwards decisions.
But and they're idiotic in the sense it's not dumb to be on Twitch. It's dumb to say we're the first pretend you're the first people to ever do it when none of their audience is on Twitch. They think that for some reason, like, Joe Zarbano thinks, like, okay, all the kids are on Twitch now. So now they're going to move over from their video gaming fucking Twitch channels and stumble upon the Greg Hill show and just watch that for 4 hours. Well, that's not really how it works. What's that?
43 of us have.
40. That's an impressive number. That is I'll give them that. They are booming off the charts so far.
I mean, this should not be the case, because I'm looking at what I love about coming on this show are the live comments, and trust me, I like to I like to read all of this stuff. There are more people engaged with this little show than a major market radio program. That shouldn't be the case.
Well, I mean, Kirk says it all the time. You probably have more listeners. Do you want to say what your average listenership is, or do you not want to do that because you have average?
No, I can. It's gone up. I would say over a 30-day period, it was in the 1,800 to 2,000 range. It's closing in on 3,000 to 4,000 now.
So in a given podcast, you probably have more listeners than a given day of the Greg Hill show, I would imagine. And that's
I have actual sponsors like Red Dogs where people are actually tweeting back out them from my little podcast. That stuff doesn't happen with the Greg Hill show, and it shouldn't be the case.
No, and we went through, it was kind of painful and laughable to go through. I didn't even do the work that the great 484 Ryan did on Twitter, but I just went back like through the last, through a 24-hour period for EEI and the Greg Hill show. And it's like some things they put out get no retweets, no replies, one like. And
I went through all
EEI's
EEI's tweets, and it's like one like, but they're also really badly written and done in a way to have the least engagement. It's as though they're trying to do the opposite of what would actually work. It's very strange. It's a mentality out of like 1987.
Mentors, what do you think of the war with the Greg Hill show? Is that something that should be persistent? Like, no matter what's going on, that should be on kind of the back burner. We're always thinking about it a little bit, or do you see it ending at some point?
I find it interesting that there's been a bit of chatter on the Twitter sphere by some that, you know, what is gained by you guys going there at 4:35 in the morning and standing outside
right.
EEI trying to interview these basically irrelevant no hopers. I mean, let's be honest here. EEI it's a relevant tiny little radio station in Boston that has these fucking D-grade stars, and you being there is probably the most, you know, sort of attention on them that they'll ever get. So I don't know what's gained by you guys going there at 4:35 in the morning to ask Greg Hill about his fake ratings.
Yeah, I think if we do get Curtis on video saying something, or Greg on video saying something, I think that could be that's what would be gained. But also, I think it's just funny. I think it's funny that they've called the cops on us twice when they could make. How easy would it be for them to make me look like a fucking moron? Fourier did it the other day. Someone called in and said blind Mike or something, and Fourier says, "Oh, I've seen a blind Mike. I don't want to look at that."
Well, like, Fourier's talented.
That show makes fun of me. Merloni makes fun of me, and Fourier makes fun of me, and Ordway acknowledges me when I like. That's pretty much the dynamic if I prank call them. So I don't bother with that show anymore because it's like, oh, they're in on the joke. It's wouldn't
always
be
the
funny.
reaction on the prank. That's what makes it funny.
And if they engaged in that, that's what's funny is that we're standing. Me and Featherston are standing there, or Justin's standing there by himself, and little Kenny Laird does a U-turn to avoid us. That's I think the value to just show what pussies they are.
Maybe. I mean, there is that, but I just think, again,
it's also not taking you away. It's 4:30 in the morning, so I'd be either sleeping or doing that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's funny because I think the hardcore audience that came over from that place when it was a monster of a station is going to luxuriate in their pain as they get smaller and smaller and smaller and more irrelevant. That's what I think is funny. If you were to snag Curtis, yeah, it would be a great bonus. But the fact that everybody's turtling, that to me makes it equally as funny. Yeah,
that's the real value in it is that it's nothing that we'll ever see. It doesn't benefit the Kirk Minahan show. It doesn't benefit Barstool or social media or anything. The real benefit that comes out of it is we know that Joe Zarbano and Dale Arnold and the people that have to drive by us and the people in management are, for whatever reason, furious about it. They're furious that they can't use the phone line, that Dale can't take calls for 4 hours, and they'll never address it. I think that's the benefit, that we basically can, and I mean, we, like the Minifans, can basically shut down a radio station and what they normally do.
I thought it was hysterical in and of itself that they still got AAF still up on the board there. I mean, they sold the station like 6 months ago.
They're lazy idiots. They're fucking completely lazy. What do you think of Jerry's response to the Minifans? It's kind of the same stuff we've heard before, but Mentors, what were your thoughts?
Look, I did a study comparing the Minifan world to a cult, and there is no doubt there are similarities. And if you step back and you're just taking this all for a bit of fun, I can see where Jerry's come from. Some of us probably from the outside look like insane lunatics sometimes, the way we carry on. And you just got to take Jerry with a grain of salt when he says those things. Because you guys pointed out on the show, it comes from a place of jealousy. It comes from a place of envy. It comes from a place of wanting to be more relevant. And that's, he would love, 10% of the dedicated fans that Kirk has. And I think that's where it comes from. So I see it as a bit of a joke. And, if you do step back and look at the Minifans as a whole, sometimes we come across as a bit loony.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I kind of almost agree with what Jerry's saying. He's like, a lot of them are nice, a lot of them are fucking nuts, which is just absolutely true. The pathetic thing is what bothers me, because I think, like, for example, he would look at Tim from Canton driving down and joining me at 4:30 in the morning. I think that would be an example of what he thinks is like pathetic, I guess. But like I said, we'd either be sleeping or doing that. And Tim from Canton likes to do it because he enjoys the show. He loves supporting the show. He thinks it's fun. It's part of a community. Patrick, same thing. Featherston, same thing. All the people that love supporting Kirk understand the value in fucking with EEI and contributing to the show a little bit. I just don't get, like, Turtle Boy is almost more guilty of this than Jerry, in that Turtle Boy just doesn't like or understand the show, so he shits on it, which is kind of odd to me in the sense that, like, so I'll shit on the Greg Hill show because I'll listen to that, or Dale Arnold. I'll listen to that, and I don't know who the audience for that is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think there is an audience for that. Whereas there's clearly an audience for what Kirk is doing, whether you like it or not. So it's stranger to shit on that to me. Does that make sense what I'm saying, DEC?
Yeah, it's funny that you use the example of Tim and Canton, because Tim and Canton would probably be sitting and listening to Howie Carr as well. He has the mindset that Jerry should be going after, and he would drive by a Tim and Canton and he would probably give him the finger and say, what a loser. Right. If you go back to the episode we did earlier in the week where we went over all the Curtis drops, if you listen to some of those best of Kirk moments, it's Jerry stepping in there and saying, stop, let's reset, move on, because Kirk's going to get upset, as opposed to saying, we got something good here. Let's fan the flames on that. Jerry has a very old mindset. Let's steer away from the thing that's getting interesting. I think if Jerry would just sit there and do his thing, that would be fine. Maybe he would get picked up by a podcast company, but he seems to be, he doesn't have the same approach. Just the whole idea that you guys could have had something really good with one of those studios where he and Cullinane were doing that show there, and he pissed all over you guys and chose to separate himself to do it on his own, which is why the show doesn't have much buzz. And I think that really bothers him.
It's weird that he can't see, whether you like it or not, it's weird that he can't see the value in what Kirk does. And I think maybe that's his problem when he talks about, like, me and Steve. He talks about how, like, we don't argue with Kirk enough. For I would say we're employees. Are content-wise, are we supposed to step in and say, enough of this, boss? So I guess now that you're saying that, DC, I think it's a good point, because I think Jerry kind of looks at us and says, maybe we're supposed to stop, like, we're supposed to argue with him and say, hey, I don't understand this. It's no good. Where it's like, how do you not respect Kirk's vision when he's, I think Kirk throughout 10, maybe 20 times more successful as a podcaster?
Well, are you going to have fake disagreement if you actually agree with what the host is saying? You're happy to speak up with all this cancel culture and rapist people.
Sure.
You speak up a lot about that. He should be giving you credit for that. But if everybody in the room is agreeing with the topic, why are you going to have fake debate?
It's also weird. I mean, we talk about this a lot, but I can't think of another podcast where you're like, why doesn't anyone argue with the host? I love listening to Kirk Minifan, but and I agree with him all the time, but why aren't more people telling him he's wrong? That seems like such a strange instinct. But Mentors, you're a contrarian. Do you disagree with that?
Well, I just think in Kirk's case, he's such a polarizing character, and he's such a strong character that you would think he would engender some sort of conflict. So I can see, but but I can also see that what you guys are saying. You're in the show with him. You sort of agree with him anyway most of the time. So why would you just put it on? But I think that's also a cheap tactic, because they know that one of the strengths of the KNC show was that Jerry and Kirk had a nice little back and forth a lot of the time. That sort of did fuel that show, their differences, and it's not fueling this show. This show is a different beast.
No, I don't agree with that.
Actually, I think Kirk and Jerry agreed a lot more than people are giving it credit for. Like, Jerry talks about this disagreement. Certainly Jerry was more willing to disagree and fuck with Kirk than I am, I guess. But I don't remember these knockdown, drag out battles that they had over political issues or anything, really.
Yeah, let's go think about it this way, because I'm not really agreeing with it there. Yes, they argued and fought a little bit, sometimes about political stuff, because Kirk is a little bit more on the libertarian side. But let's do the test this way. When Jerry's out, would you still want to listen to Kirk and Mutt? To me, It's the same show. When Kirk's out and you have, like, say, Jerry and Mutt, or Jerry and what's the shithead who they were talking about who they hired. Oh crap! I can't remember the guy's name, but he's
Mark James Reamer
or somebody like that.
Yeah, bored
the shit out of me. I think Jerry just has bad instincts.
That's a given. I don't know if Jerry even has bad instincts. It's more, and I have this problem where if I'm with, if I'm on a show with Kirk, or even, I'm better with like MHB. Like I think Trash Talk was better than just me by myself. There are some people that are just better reacting and being part of the group than being the host. Like I don't think I'm a particularly good host. Jerry might have some of that. Jerry's more talented than me and a better broadcaster, but he might have some of that where he can't run a show as well. He doesn't have as good.
No, he's not a number one.
He's a terrible host. But I more mean Jerry would call out Kirk, not for political ideas, but more his moods and stuff. Like, I think you and Steve will pander to Kirk's feeling that day.
Maybe, but it's the Kirk Minahan show.
Yeah, no. Okay, but I'm just saying, I think Jerry was less tolerant of that. He would just say, Kirk, you're being a little...
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think Kirk would also be the first to say his mental health during those times were totally different. If you listen to some of those old clips, Kirk was completely unhinged. He sounds like a teddy bear now in comparison to some of those bad days at WEEI. He doesn't rage the way he used to because I think he's in a better place and he's happier there. So there's not going to be an opportunity for somebody to say, Kirk, dial it in. Can you get a grip? You're sabotaging this program because he's not doing it.
And I don't know if Kirk wants an equal in that room. Like, you heard him say to me, like, hey, you're a sidekick, not a co-host. Shit like that. Where it's like, I don't think he wants a guy like Jerry giving him the business every time he thinks he's in the bad mood, I think he wants a subordinate. He wants someone that kind of knows their place a little bit.
He wants someone that'll piss in a bottle.
Well, that was my... I'm glad you mentioned that, Mentors. Excellent
vomit
segue.
Just thinking about it.
My final topic for the evening. DC, we'll get to you, but I'm very curious what Mentors thinks of all this. Does this add to the your hatred of Steve? Are you more confused by him? What do you think of Pissgate?
I don't know where to start. But I think what you said on Friday is the most big point about this. The fact that he doesn't see anything weird about it is the strange thing. Like, it is, if I were to just pull out this cup now and take a piss here and just keep talking, it's fucking weird, It's fucking weird. And the fact that he thinks it's normal, I just don't get it. And so that's very strange and it's disgusting. And
I hate a lot of my flaws come from insecurities and lack of confidence, but that does also, at least in my own mind, prove that I'm a human being. I have feelings and emotions. So if someone saw a bottle of piss next to me and said, "Did you just do that?" I wouldn't be like, "Yeah, what of it?" I would be like, gee, I would feel shame or embarrassment, where Steve does not have that, and it's impressive and scary at the same time to me.
Yeah, I went back last night just for fun, and I was watching all those RT videos of him on there just because he fascinates me. It's not that like it disgusts me or I'm fearful of him or I don't like him. He's just so fascinating that he does these things, and it's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Like aunts and ants. It is like the thing that is the most obviously crazy and weird is the thing that he just doesn't think is a big deal. I would never be able to whip out my wang and start peeing into a bottle while things were going on. I'd be worried about spilling it. And just the idea of he's got that bottle of urine and he's just putting it in the trash and it's next to him. It's so gross. You guys do a podcast. He could hit the pause button and go pee.
The strangest part is that he does it. I don't see well enough to make eye contact with him through that window, but him and Kirk are looking at each other pretty much the entire show, I imagine. Anytime Kirk looks up and gives Steve kind of a direction, they're making eye contact. So at some point, Steve is staring at him with his hand under the desk, pissing in a bottle, which is just absolutely bizarre. And I don't get how he does not. It's troubling, but yet it also makes me feel like he has great instincts. Like he's one of the greatest Andy Kaufman-esque characters. Like you talk about aunts and ants, for example. I have a lot of things in my speech where either I use words that are like almost over the top and don't fit, or I fuck up words. I say words wrong. But I think the reason it doesn't become a thing as much as with Steve is because I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I feel shame about it. I understand
self-awareness.
I understand why it's funny. Steve is like, what do you mean? So what? Answer and answer separate. How do you not get that? And that's the beauty of him and what makes him such a fascinating character. And I'm so glad, I don't know if Mentors would agree with this, but I am so glad that Steve realized it was somewhere along the way, Steve realized the value in that. I think at first he didn't really get it, but somewhere along the way he realized the value in it. And that's why you got the brilliance on Friday of Kirk coming back. And there were no words said, by the way. I heard Kirk say, "Was that you?" And Steve say something. And then Kirk just storms back in and goes, "Are we on?" I didn't know what was happening. I thought there was like a legitimate issue. And then
there was.
And then little did I know.
I think Steve's actually been pretty good on the show the last couple of months.
Wow.
I know I shouldn't say it publicly, but I think he's actually sort of settled into his role. And I think there's no doubt there was a lot of insecurities around Steve in the first 6 months as Kirk's producer, but I think that's kind of gone away. He realizes that Cullinane's not going to replace him. So I think he's sort of settled down and he's sort of not trying hard to impress everybody. And I think we're getting a better Steve because of it.
Wow, look at this. Mentors coming around. He's apologizing to DEC, apologizing to Steve. This is unbelievable.
Did I apologize to DEC? Because I take that back.
I think the question you guys should have asked, now that I'm thinking about it, is when he was on with Howie Carr, they videotaped it and put it on Newsmax, and they put it on the internet. Do you think Steve, while they had that camera on him, was pissing right next to Grace Curley, or when he was filling in, he's going on and on about Obama? He's got like one of those bottles with his
fabulous question.
Cock out.
Fabulous question. This guy hates me for some reason, but I give him a lot of credit. I think he does a good job. Warden of the North. I don't think he's a fan of mine now. I don't know why.
He hates me.
Maybe he hates everyone. I don't know. But he does excellent work. His song was very good, but in general, the videos he makes are very funny. Seems like a job for old Warden of the North to go back through the tape and see if he can find Steve's hand under the desk at any point. Maybe poor Grace Curley has a Me Too story.
I would be not surprised if Steve's the type of guy who could balance the bottle like between his knees and aim his penis and do it with no hands. I think he's a pretty talented guy.
That's amazing talent.
A lot about Steve's penis.
I will say, Deese, that reminds me. I think my favorite line from the week, although there were a lot of laughs this week, so I don't know if this is my absolute favorite, but we were talking about you, DEC.
Okay.
And I said, I think there's a charm to DEC. And Kirk goes, yeah, he's a charming guy. And just the way he said the disgust in his voice really made me laugh. Before we go here, before we go here, Bob Murchison's name was mentioned briefly on Friday. Do we think he's back, and do we think it'll be an issue, or will it be handled with the same grace that it was in November? DC, I know you had some thoughts.
I think this is, I tweeted something about this. It does sound like he's back, and I think this is the time for us to put aside the petty nonsense. I mean, if we have arguments that are going to be entertaining, let's do it. But I think this is the time of, especially the people who only aim the guns inward. It's time to stop doing this. That's like petty bullshit. What we have going on right now is an existential threat. Now, I think we have the roadmap, and regardless of what this guy may or may not be doing, I think we have the strength and numbers and power behind Barstool to take this guy on again. But yeah, it sounds like he's back. It sounds like the existential threat is back. And when we have somebody we're fighting against, the show's better and we're stronger.
Yeah, I think it's funny how much with if you look at the numbers from June alone, I think if you go back to November and see what happened with the vigil, if something like that, knowing Kirk, it wouldn't be the exact same thing, but if there were an event in Sherborne or something, I think it might be twice as big, honestly, which would be probably not great for Bob Murchison. His wife might tell him to go away. What do you think, DC? I mean, Mentors, rather.
Well, I just can't believe he's back. I'm flabbergasted. I thought he was
Kirk
gone.
said it all along. He's going to be back. He's going to be back.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And what is he do? If he's contacting advertisers again? I mean, DC's right. You've got the playbook now. What's going to put him off? You've just got to go and end up in his front yard again, basically.
Well, we'll see how that all plays out. Maybe I don't know. Well, it's all rumors and speculation now, so we shall see how that's handled. Anything else before we get out of here, boys?
No, I'm just happy to put my fan on. This room is scorching hot.
I'm sweltering too. Right about time to end this. But before I do, I will remind everyone.
Do you have any sweat between your balls?
A little bit. A little nut sweat. Why? Does that get you off?
Just
My
curious.
situation with Justin as producer of this show, because I know a couple of weeks ago you mentioned he was on his last legs. I think he's done a fine job tonight.
There it is. The shit
say
eating
that?
grin
He's
is
never
back
said
again.
that.
Did I say that?
No.
I've got the
I might have said that.
Another lie.
No, Justin's a good boy. I would say with the booking, he doesn't necessarily. I'll give him some tips at time. Like I told him to ask you guys on, but that's not his fault. He's not always going to know who I want on. So I think Justin does a good job.
Good.
All right, Justin, you said you had something to add.
Did you think about what Kirk said earlier in the week about how there's the 2 mics thing? I know I brought it up before, and Kirk's brought it up before, and I didn't know.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned this before, but I don't understand. Mentors, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Because Kirk, for anyone that doesn't know, Kirk mentioned that I'm different with like Alba, like in that Periscope video. Well, yeah, but here's,
definitely.
But here's my stance on it. Kirk in that room would be the alpha, but am I supposed to be intimidated or second banana or whatever you want to call it to everyone I speak to? Do I always have to is Justin supposed to be above me on this show?
No,
That's how I am with Kirk.
I don't think that. I think what Kirk was saying is that there's kind of like 2 different mics. Is that like Kirk is the same person whether it's just him and you, or it's him and you on the podcast, or
well, Kirk's more confident than me. I'm that way with people that I'm not as intimidated by. I guess I don't know.
But it's just like there's just
I think it's more honest to be like when Kirk, threatens to fire me or tells me to leave. I think it's more honest to be genuine about that and not puff my chest out and go, "Well, fuck you, pal," because that's not how I am really. But with you, I'll be more insulting to you because you're the producer of the show, not my boss.
But it just seems weird when you're like, you won't like Justin just offered me Kool-Aid, and it's just like,
why is that weird?
Because it's just like it's like.
Oh, it's weird that I make fun of you.
But I don't think it's genuinely you making fun of me.
I think it'd be
it's
weird
just
if you didn't make
trying
fun of
to put
him.
on like a
Right?
Kirk shtick.
I don't understand, Justin.
I think you are the new Mutt. There's a little bit of that Mutt that, depending on where Mutt is, he's like tofu, and he changes depending on the circumstance. And I think I think you are a little bit more confident when you're on your own.
No, of course, I'm willing to admit that. Obviously, I'm more confident on hosting a show than I am on a show where I get made fun of. But isn't that kind of normal? I don't find that strange.
No, I think it's
Justin. Do you see what I'm saying? Justin. If I bring you onto this show, you're kind of in my role, and I'm kind of in Kirk's role. I'm not imitating Kirk, but I am going to make fun of you more than I'm going to let you make fun of me.
Yeah, no, I don't make fun of you because that's just like who I am. Like I don't make fun of you off camera. I don't make fun of you on camera.
But okay, so an example you used was how I talked to Alba off mic. Wouldn't that be an example that I'm kind of like that all the time? Off mic?
Not off mic. I said. Kirk said like on the camera. You're like, oh, she's funny.
No. I'm talking about when you've brought this up in the past. You said how I talk to Alba when like we're setting up here.
Oh, I think that's because I'm watching.
Yes, Justin. I very badly want to impress you in front of my girlfriend.
I think you're trying to big dick. I think that's what you're trying to do. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
You're a fucking idiot, to be honest. And Justin, to be clear, I'm not calling you a fucking idiot because the microphone is on. I would say that to you if we were fucking around. And I am kidding, Justin. Also, I am kidding when I say that. I think you're doing a good job.
Oh yeah, no.
But what am I supposed to say?
I just don't think you would say that without the mic.
Okay, so on that Periscope, I should have said, "Hey, Alba, baby. Honestly, it was great to meet your parents. I know, all kidding aside, that was a great meal. They seem like lovely people. It was, unfortunate I couldn't really understand. Is that what I should have done?"
No, but it was just you're just like, oh, she thinks she's cute. It's just I just agreed with Kirk's point there, and I just didn't know if you thought more about it throughout the week.
I did, but I will continue to make fun of you, no matter how much. I know that Kool-Aid joke really stuck with you from 3 months ago, but I will do that again. I apologize in advance.
Maybe just lose a bit of the insecurity when you go in with Kirk. I guess that's
probably more so. I think it's the opposite of what Justin is saying, where I should be more like that with Kirk, I guess.
Absolutely.
Rather than the other way around.
Absolutely.
Justin wants me to be less
Kool-Aid?
confident with Justin. What's that, Justin?
Does Kirk ever offer you Kool-Aid? When was the last
He's
time
not.
he offered you
He's
Kool-Aid?
not, and that's why I've not made fun of him for it.
Oh, okay.
I think Justin has really raised his game since the very beginning.
Justin does a good job. I've
Yeah.
always said that. I don't know why I'm on trial here for making fun of Justin.
Because it's fun to put you on trial and on the defensive.
I'm not that hard on the fucking guy, to be honest. Justin, did I not say you do a good job?
I cry every night because of what you've done to me.
All right, well, get the fuck out of here. Now, again, Justin, that was a joke. But I do mean it. I want you to get out of here. But it's more funny to me to say it that way than, Justin, if you wouldn't mind backing out so I can speak to my friends here for a moment and sign off. I don't know.
Yeah, Justin, back out so the adults can have a conversation.
Hey, DEC, that's phony of you. That's phony of you to say it like that because you're a nice guy.
Right.
No, I get what Justin's trying to say, but I think it's the opposite. I think maybe I should be more like that with Kirk rather than less like that to Albert.
You should be yourself. Continue to be who you are. It's what makes you entertaining.
I agree. I think I am more and more, but I also think that is I am kind of being who I am. That's not confident with a guy like Kirk. Yeah, it's the same with Portnoy, I guess. But anyways, any final thoughts, boys, before we sign off?
No, Mike, thanks for having me. It's been great as always to be on Mike and the Minifans. Can't wait for next week's show.
Glad to hear you say that, yes.
I have to say the last couple of weeks of the shows have been outstanding. Since the break, you've come in, like all three of you have come in, hot with some good stuff. So keep it up.
Good, glad to hear it. And don't forget, folks, Dragonfly Drive in Scarborough, Maine. Roughly 5.5, 6 miles from the drive-in movie theater. So relatively close to wherever you're staying up there, I would imagine. It's going to be so much thanks to our guy Jason and TJ Hubbard for setting it up. We'll give more details throughout the week. Bring your own beers if you're going to be drinking, but there should be some free food for you, so make sure you come up to Maine Friday if you're going to the drive-in shows on Saturday and Sunday. And other than that, we'll have some fun next week and talk to you later.
Another tough day at work today. Stephen Kirk, think I suck. Throw back a few wobbly pops, feeling down on my luck. And the interns ruin every show. But it's still where we wanna go. It's Mike and the Minifans. 'Cause nobody had any better plans. You wanna be with DC and RA Minahan. The host can't see it's Mike and the Minifans. And nobody's seen real MHB. This whole thing is a sham. You never see him pee, it's Mike and the Minifans.